kitchen, and which was good because she spoke very little English, and the women who worked with her were so good about helping her, say she couldn't remember what something was called, they'd tell her, So mainly I think she worked in the kitchens there.
And how many hours a day would she work in the kitchen?
Well, she probably, I think the way they timed it, the breakfast shift, I think they worked through breakfast, helped, and then kind of cleaned up. And, but it might have helped prepare lunch, but then that was their work day. And then they had another crew that cooked lunch and dinner.
Okay.
So
after work or after school, when you weren't doing either one of those, what did people do for fun? I guess.
There really was no organized thing for if you had a radio, you were lucky to at least have a radio. But I don't know, people seemed to. Well, of course, the women had worked all day. I think they were glad to go home and be with the family. And
was there any kind of like organized dances or anything?
well,
like
they
that?
did have dances on Saturday nights. They had a lovely roof garden. I think there was a picture. I don't know if it was in that.
Yeah, I think there was one we saw.
Or not. But it was really a huge dance floor, all hardwood floor. But they called it the roof garden because it was a top, a building that had the theater under it and the broom factory. You had to climb a good flight of steps on the outside to get to, get to the top. But they had some well-known bands at that time, nationally known, who would come there and play. But most of the time it was just musicians who lived at the colony who played at the Saturday night dances.
Do you remember the names of any of the bands that were nationally known?
Gosh, I should. Of course, we didn't go to the dances when they came. I think there was admission charge, otherwise the dances were free when the colony musicians provided the music. I can't think. There were quite a few well-known dance bands at that time. That was a big source of recreation, was going to dances.
So did people from outside the colony ever come to these dances, or was it just?
Sometimes some young people from Leesville, which was about 1.5 miles up the road from us, would come to the dances. But that was where I learned to dance. Sometimes as kids, when we were kids, we'd just get out on the dance floor because it was so large. You weren't in the way of anyone because there were so many kids. So it was a lot of fun learning, and but there actually weren't a lot of people who didn't live there come on a regular Saturday night dance. But it was fun. The kids we'd dance when we were little. Of course, I was 9 when we moved there. But we'd find a place where there weren't many dancers, and we'd dance ourselves, with each other until we learned how to dance. But it was a lot of fun. And it was good. There was no drinking or anything there. They didn't have any kind of alcoholic beverages.
Yeah. Would the schedule change on Sunday from the other days of the week?
Yes, it was a day off, except for the hotel.
Yeah,
crew.
so whoever worked at the hotel still had
They
to
still
make
had
the
to come in,
meals.
and, they just had one breakfast, and then they made dinner the big meal of the day, and then they provided you with like a sack lunch for supper. So they did get a relief from 3 meals, cooking 3 meals.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of church on the property, or?
There wasn't, but there was never anything said against religion
Mm-hmm.
that I ever heard of. If you wanted to go, there were churches in Leesville,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't recall any organized religious, houses there.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember any weddings during the time you lived there, or?
Yes, there were weddings, and I'm trying to think who. It would always be someone from the colony who officiated at the wedding,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't remember if they had to have any qualification for that, or if you said, told someone, would you perform the marriage ceremony?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they could do that, but it usually was someone from the colony who did. Sometimes people would go up to Leesville and maybe be married in a church,
Mm-hmm.
but most of the young people that got married, it was just done right at the colony.
Mm-hmm.
And the families pretty much lived in the homes,
Mm-hmm.
and then the single guys stayed in the hotel.
Well, some of them stayed in the hotel, and then some of them just preferred to live as bachelors in a home, which they were allowed to do. They provided a home and furnished, all well furnished. Of course, they didn't have to worry about cooking
Or laundry.
or laundry. Yeah.
So laundry was done once a week.
Mm-hmm. That was another job they taught us girls to do, was iron.
Oh.
We did have electric irons at that time.
Huh.
But one thing we did have to do was hang clothes,
Mm-hmm.
because there were no such thing as dryers. But they had, they probably don't have anything like this. It was a large cylinder, maybe about this big around, and not quite as long as the sofa. And they put the clothes in there. They'd have to wash maybe whites in one load or something like that, and do the laundry there. Us kids would hang the laundry up, and then sometimes we even ironed the clothes, but they had a mangle to do all the flat work.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
sheets came back from the laundry ironed. Yeah. But as I said, they taught us how to iron pants and shirts,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, we didn't seem to complain about these jobs. I don't know what, maybe the atmosphere. We were out of school. We were doing something different.
You were doing it with your friends, I assume.
Oh, yeah, there'd
Yeah.
always be kids that we knew.
Yeah.
doing all this.
Okay. Well, let's cut that off there then.